New cards, PogChamp. New cards, PogChamp. I'm Bandit Keith, America. Does that fulfill your your character roulette style roleplay for today? No, let me do the Doug version. Arr, it's me, Bandit Keith. Spaghetti and meatballs. All right, what are we working with? So they made Metalmorph support because anything that anyone in DM has ever touched is going to be just endlessly exhumed and ground into a paste that they can feed to like 27-year-olds. At some point, we are going to get adult enough that we don't want to see our childhood endlessly relitigated, but that day is not today, and I'm super excited to announce Red Eyes Black Full Metal Alchemist Dragon. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned with enhanced Metalmorph, activated by tributing a level 5 or higher dragon monster. You can only use the first and second effect once per turn. You can reveal this card in your hand, set a Metalmorph trap, and if you do, shuffle this card into the deck. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can negate the activation and inflict damage to them equal to the original attack of one of their attack position monsters. Great card. You know what, actually, why are we even reading this card? We should read Enhanced Metalmorph before we judge any of these, right? Okay, so you'll notice that Enhanced Metalmorph is actually not Metalmorph. It is Rare Metalmorph. Anyway, activate this card by tributing a face-up monster. Special monster that can't be normal summoned or set and mentions Enhanced Metalmorph from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Then equip this card as an equipped card with this effect, and it's got the Rare Metalmorph effect. 400 attack and defense, can't be targeted by spell effects and monster effects, and can't be destroyed by monster and spell effects. Good shit. Powerful shit. Okay, so with that context, this card looks pretty good, provided that you're able to consistently get to it. I like that it does everything. You know, you pitch it so that you can get the Enhanced Metalmorph, and then it's the target once you tribute a 5 or higher. Cool. Metal Devil Zoa X. So the one thing that I'm a little concerned about with these cards is I hope to God they don't make the originals playable, because if you've never seen the original Metalmorph cards, they are fucking stupid in that they, along with the Enhanced Charmers, are, I think, the only cards that can special themselves from deck, which is like a real problem. Like, in terms of the rules, that just like ass traps are a big issue. All right. Dark Sage also. Yes, that's the other one, yes. And Thinian. Is Thinian deck? Ooh. Well, thankfully, none of those are good, with the exception of Inari Fire, apparently. But let's check out Metal Devil Zoa X. Can it be normal summoned or set, special summoned with level 5 or higher fiend monsters. You could theoretically play this in Ubel. Reveal this card in your hand, set a Metalmorph trap directly in your deck, and you do shovel this card in the deck. So this is pretty cool. This is like the dragon one, this is the fiend one, and they both search themselves. And then up to twice per turn when your opponent activates a spell card effect or a monster effect, target a face of monster they control, destroy it. This is nice. I kind of like that like, this is like, if you play a singular archetypal deck, there is like a 4-card package you could theoretically play that gets you some form of interaction that is layered. A lot of these decks, especially rogue decks, and I hate to be like, this helps rogue, but especially rogue decks have a ton of power on their end board, but they lack one of the most important things in Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is a diversity of interaction, where like, a Dark Ruler kills them, or a Droplet kills them, or like an Imperm kills them in the right place, right? This is a scenario where, like, even after your opponent expends a board breaker, you can pivot into, okay, well, here's what we've got, right? I like that. I think that's really cool. We have Fiend Beast Zoa. If your opponent controls a monster, you can normal summon this card without tributing. If it's in your hand, you can special summon it in defense. And then if you do not have Enhanced Metalmorph in your graveyard, your opponent can special summon a monster from their hand. And then during your main phase, you can set a Metalmorph trap directly from your deck. Okay, whatever. I don't really care. And then we have Metal Copycat. I didn't think this guy ever became metal. If this card is normally special summoned, you can set a Metalmorph from your deck. Then if you have Enhanced, you can draw a card. So when it says Metalmorph Trap, does that include Enhanced Metalmorph? It doesn't say Metalmorph. It says Metalmorph Trap. So you can set Metalmorph, Rare Metalmorph, and Enhanced Metalmorph. Okay. Then you can draw a card. That's interesting. Increase by 4 during your opponent's turn only? Wow. Okay, this card's crazy. I was super excited for these cards like application in decks that were already natively playing. Like Dragon Link plays high-level dragons. Ubel plays high-level fiends. This just turns it into everything. It's just like, fuck you, I'm whatever I need to be. That's cool. I will be considering this package in literally every deck I play. I don't know if it's going to be good. It's just like neat. Really like it as part of an end board. Especially if you don't need your normal summon. And, you know, not to get too in the weeds on this, but the increase being only your opponent's turn means that you can normal it and then go Fiend and then go, and now Fiendsmith. Oh boy, that's something. Approaching Machine. Add a monster that mentions Enhanced Metalmorph or Metalmorph Trap from your deck to your hand. If you control a Metalmorph Trap, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target an opponent's defense position monster, change it to attack position. This card seems okay. I like this card. It's just a searcher. And here's, of course, we did this already. And Time Engine. Time Engine is supposed to be Time Machine, right? Which has this like weird... I think Bandit Keith uses Time Machine originally, right? If a monster you control is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, target one of them, special summon it. If it's a level 5 or higher machine monster and you have another Metalmorph Trap in your field or graveyard, destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible, then you can inflict damage to them equal to the summoned monster's original attack. Okay, well, this card is not going to be played. But the rest of these are pretty interesting. I would consider them... Yeah, someone in chat made the correct assumption. I would consider these the same way you would consider Adventure. Like something that you splash into your deck to make your end board a little more resilient. Whereas Adventure would get you an Omni that lost to a couple of very specific things. I think this loses to less, but is less impactful. You know what I actually think it is analogous to is Full Armor Dark Ray Lancer. It's like that type of end board thing where like the graveyard effect of the trap is like the operate function of the card. And it's like there's a sort of layered nature to it that helps you resist a lot of the things that people put in their decks to counter stuff. I like this a lot. I think it's quite strong. And I think that people will experiment with it. The thing that's going to prevent it from being played isn't the weakness of the cards. It is deck space. It's like if it fucks up the ratios enough that you aren't consistently able to draw 2 hand traps with this, then probably people won't play it. But I think there's a real argument that they will, especially with this card able to get into the Fiendsmith stuff for the cost of your normal. Okay. Next up. Turu-Puru. Okay, so I like this guy. I think that he's funny. I remember him from the Duel Links wave duels. I don't know if they still do those, where you would like go up an attribute style tower. In fact, that was one of the Duel Links events, DD Castle, that I think they stopped running because people hated. You know those surveys that are like, what did you like? What did you dislike? Duel Links actually listens to those, and people hated the Miasma DD Tower so much that they were like, fine, we're never doing it again. And thank God for that. Fucking an ass fucking event. Anyway, if this card is in your hand, target a monster water in your main monster zone. Destroy that monster if you control. And if you do, special summon this card to the zone it was in. Then you can destroy all opponent's face-up cards in this column. That is very cool. It is not good. I wish it was quick. If it was quick, this would be an interesting card. Give fucking water decks a Sharvara. But no, it's not. It's an out to skill drain. Yeah. All right, next up. Split the stars with Protostar Dragon of the Interstellar Void. Okay. Oh, a lighter dark dragon and a dragon. Okay, so this is Vlad support, but it's also many decks. If this card is fusion summoned, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of light and dark monsters used as material, destroy them. And if this card becomes banished, you can target a level 4 light or dark dragon monster you control. Its level becomes 8. This is so cool. Wow, this card is like... You can just see the stink of 20 years of card design coming off this card in little fucking smell lines. Your light and dark monsters used as material? Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, I guess you all have figured out what we're going to be using this card for. Gets you to a level 8 monster, which is like super important for most of the decks that would theoretically play this. You know, it's a cool, well-designed card, but I don't think that means it'll see play. I think, obviously, it'll be a super poly target for some very specific metas or formats. But the decks that I can think that would theoretically play it at present don't really have ways to fusion that don't suck balls. So, in the future, this could have a home among a number of decks that don't exist yet. But at present, I don't think it's very good. Next up. Okay, is this Ib? So I've seen people posting this all week. Art's super cool. And so people were like, no, it's like, this isn't Ib. And then Golden Nova was like, no, it totally is. So it's got Lee's hair. It's legitimately the left side is Galatea, the Orchist automaton, and has this little hex pattern that's on all the Orchists. It's very strange. It's Lee. Okay, well, this is Lee, and this is Galatea, which is sort of Ib, but yes, of course, yeah. It's just Lee being taken apart. I guess so. Anyway, this card is called Dream Absorber. And by the way, I hate to be like this. I'm so down bad for Lee. Look at... What's the search spell card? World Legacy Memory. She's so fucking cute in this picture. All right, anyway. She's like 6 inches tall. Lee is an adult woman. She's a 30-year-old scientist. The hottest thing a woman can do is be 30. Oh, I'm not fucking the fairy, though. But the fairy's not real. Look. You see the little holograms pointing out the fairy on the edges of this card? It's a complete illusion. The fairy's not real. It's just science. All right, anyway. If your opponent activates a monster effect in the hand, graveyard, or banishment, you can special summon this card from your graveyard if it was there when the effect was activated, or the hand if not, but destroy it during the end phase. Each time your opponent activates a monster effect, this card gains 1,000 immediately after it resolves. So this is a this is a really cool hand trap. It's not good, but it's a really it's a really interesting hand trap in that it's like you can do your full combo. I am going to end on a 15,000 attack monster. Of course, any deck that can perform a combo will find removal over the course of the combo, especially in a world where SP Little Knight exists. Oh, it dies during the end phase no matter what. Oh, fuck, this card's terrible. This card's awful. Maybe, like, you could get it out early in Sprite, and your opponent just interacting with your Sprite board will just accidentally kill them. This is Maxi? Yeah, for sure. No, this is... Can this be exploited, like, on your turn? Force an... Oh, yeah. So it can be exploited by giving your opponent the Beals while you control that Red Eyes monster. And then while you're FTKing them, you can get her to 15,000 attack. That's crazy. Oh, man. Cool art, though. Really cool art. Next up. All right, we're just making new Union cards. Union Pilot. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. This is a, unsurprisingly, light machine effect Union. Once per turn, you can either target an effect monster you control, equip this card to that target, or unequip this card and special summon it. If the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, destroy this card instead. Standard Union fair. Second, you can return this equipped card to the hand to equip one banished Union monster to an appropriate monster you control as if it were equipped by that Union monster's effect, and if you do, special this card from your hand. This is a... This is an interesting card. I'm not really well versed enough in ABC setups that occurred past 2017 to know what it does for the strategy. But what I know is it's okay. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't Union Driver banish itself? Yes. So the use case for this is you play ABC, equip Union Driver banish to do the ABC shit, and then find a way to equip this guy, summon back the Union Driver, special pilot, and then make CDI before you commit to anything important, which is like cool. That's like good for sure. But that's a world where you're able to equip 2 Union guys from deck? I don't know. That seems kind of unlikely. Like, do they have another way to do it? I know they have like the quick play that equips an appropriate Union, so you have to like draw that. And if we still had Union Carrier, they could do it. Yeah, of course. It's an interesting card with a lot of potential, but that potential is specifically in ABC decks, and I don't think it's good enough to see consistent play in there. Also, CDI takes 2 extra deck slots, and that's a big ask. Big ask for you. There are a lot of people on this planet that are playing dog-ass... I'm just going to be really mean. Ancient Fairy Dragon setups in their ABC deck. They're playing 31 hand traps and 9 pieces, and they're like, I'm just going for it, baby. All right, next up. We got another Morganite. This is a weird one. Wasn't expecting to see another Morganite. But here it is. End Exalting Morganite. Okay, so Time Tearing Morganite, for those of you who don't remember the card, was a card that I think a lot of people were scared about, including me, because it forecasts a type of deck that's impressively unfun to play against, and those forecasts came true. The card is played in a bunch of Josh's paleo-ass lists. Runic Stun, some bad flu decks play them. But largely, the scale of the thing was miscast insofar as very few good decks actually got to play it. So I thought we had escaped the Morganite problem, but we didn't. There's another one. Okay, apply these effects for the rest of the duel. Just like the last Morganite, you can't activate monster effects in the hand. Each of your monsters can make 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. And if your monster battles an opponent's monster, any battle damage it inflicts to your opponent is doubled. Plus, you can banish this card from your graveyard to add a Morganite from your deck to your hand, then put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. So, this one's weird. The decks that want the other Morganite are largely not decks that want any of these effects. But they wouldn't shake a stick at them, and they're already aiming to play the other Morganite, right? So, like, they intend to occasionally have to do a game where they don't activate monster effects from the hand. And if they're doing that, they might as well play this card and get a small benefit for functionally just Rota-ing for Morganite. So maybe... Add to that the fact that, of course, it can be banished from the graveyard without activating it, and you can just, like, Morella. Can you Morella this? Morella sends just trap cards, right? You can Foolish Burial Goods for this in a deck that theoretically might already be playing Foolish Burial Goods. It isn't at present, but this might be enough to tip it over the edge. You can hit it off Needlebug, yeah. It's interesting. People keep saying the -2 is too much for stun strats. Stun strats famously care very much about card advantage relative to their opponent. No, I don't know. Really hard card to place. The reason it's hard to place is because it's not like Morganite automatically wins you the game if you're playing a stun strat or paleo. So it's not like you would really jump through a ton of hoops for it, but the hoop that this is jumping through is so minor that maybe... Very difficult, very difficult. I do want to say this is a card I don't want to underestimate. It could theoretically be quite good. And I think a lot of players did the same thing with Time Tearing Morganite, where they're like, this card is obviously bad, none of the good decks play it, without understanding that like this is a card that will occasionally show up in strategies, and a card that realistically Yu-Gi-Oh players are just not very good at evaluating. And I think this is a similar type of thing. We'll see. A lot of promise for this card. And honestly, I'm kind of happy they're printing cards like this. It's really like, what I don't like about the Morganites is that they leave, that they go to the graveyard and are put in the graveyard in a way that makes it frustrating to be like, and what extra effects do you get? And if you have 2 of them, then you now have to memorize like 4 extra effects that are happening every turn. But I really like them from a gameplay perspective. Like, the logistics are boring, but the gameplay perspective is pretty interesting. Just add emblems to Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of. That would really help. I wish it was like, this card is banished. Like, this one's going to be banished. But like, when you activate like a super banished, like a second banished zone, specifically where you hold Morganites, you know? One thing that's cool is I like that you cannot activate monster cards from the hand. Of course, doesn't apply to trap cards, and they're now printing those like trap card hand traps, which is like, oh, sick. Like, you play 3 Imperm, 3 Evenly, 3 of the trap card hand traps, and it's like, oh, see, I can still go second. They should let you note take for Morganites. Next up. All right, this is the last one. We don't know anything about this card, but this is a new Performapal. Performapal Sky Magician Girl. The V-Jump promos, I have no faith in. There's no way this card is going to be good, and if it is good, it's going to be so blazingly good that it'll ruin the game for a couple of years. But if nothing else, she's cute. Teehee.